And we are back in Psycholonials Chapter 7. It never even stood a chance. Let's see what Jen does about the, what was her name? Nancy Schmancy or something like that. Candace Schmandis, that's what it was, that's right. 1 month later, after Jen knew she was infiltrated. After another month is swallowed into the dystopian 2020 abyss, the march towards social media supremacy continues unabated. Last week, you leapfrogged over Katy Perry. Today, you just slid past Miley Cyrus. Both accounts took 7 years to reach their marks, while yours took only 3 months to surpass them. Supreme Honkifax of the Jubilites, gender, clown, location, New Whimsifay. The woman you just eclipsed, Miley, has been outspokenly critical of law enforcement through her platform. But as far as you're aware, she never personally ended the life of an officer, or given the orders to execute an entire precinct. Pathetic, really. Ooh, getting charts and stuff. And it's the little touches like this that make all the difference when it comes to clawing your way to the top. It's a matter of commitment, you think. You've been catching a lot of bitches slipping lately, and rankings have served them notice. Who's driving the taxis and who's bringing gasoline to the island? You know? Due to resuming control of your empire with your distinct personal touch, life here on the island has stabilized after a rocky start in the days following the evacuation. A few deft political maneuvers have brought stability to your stolen summer colony, but the same can't be said for the rest of the nation, and at this point many parts of the world as well. The U.S. is becoming increasingly fractured due to many localized Jubilite insurrections, and a great number of police stations across the nation have fallen. Certain regions of America, which now represent unpolled, demilitarized pockets of Jubilite-controlled territory, have gotten so large, Ring 3 has categorized these parts of the map as Jubilite counties. That is, entire counties in the U.S. where the majority of all police stations have been commandeered, and the number of counties which qualify has been making everyone in the government extremely nervous. Heavy Jubilite activity reported. Jubilite counties captured. Ooh, look at that. Nervous enough to begin listening to certain demands you've been making for weeks. In recent days, hostilities in the country have finally started cooling off. This is because of negotiations you just completed, which have resulted in a treaty between the Jubilite government and Jubilite movement and the U.S. government. The treaty grants formal recognition of the island of Nantucket as a sovereign nation totally independent from the United States, which is now called the New Whimsifay. The mainland agrees to keep the power running and all naval blockades lifted so you can continue supplying the island with needed resources. Okay, this is getting a little out of reasonableness, but okay, whatever. I'll play along. In exchange, you've agreed to a non-aggression pact with the U.S. and have publicly called for a nationwide cessation of hostilities from your Jubilite militias. No more capturing police stations, and no more expansion of Jubilite County territory. For now. Your movement has been seeping into the fabric of global politics as well. Certain nations have started showing signs of instability, as the insurrections dominated by clowned-up faces have swelled up enormous sizes around the world. While such volatility has stalled in the U.S. due to your treaty, it's only been picking up steam in other nations. You've begun to lose track of what's happening where, since there's so much to observe all at once, and you've had your hands full with domestic matters. But what hasn't gone unnoticed to you is the broader cultural phenomenon it's become in such a short period of time. Many celebrities are outwardly identifying as Jubilites now, both feeling emboldened by the political strength of the movement and enticed by the fashionable statement it's become to clown up in solidarity with the rebellious spirit of your manifesto. Most of these people you could hardly give a fuck about, but you're flattered nonetheless. However, you were floored when you heard Post Malone himself was hopping into your tent. He even got some new clownish face tattoos to mark his newfound dedication to your cause. You have no idea if he found out what a huge fan of his you are, but you think you'd die of embarrassment if he knew. But sometimes you wonder if Abby sent him a sneaky message behind your back to lure him into the fold. You'd fuck her up if you found out she did that. Speaking of which, it seems Abby has managed to use her newfound celebrity influence to climb the ladder to her own faves. She's now in contact with their leader, Namjoon. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, which she seems incapable of going more than 15 minutes without mentioning. And when you start getting wind of a decidedly familiar-sounding movement picking up steam in South Korea, with everyone's 7 favorite boys at the helm, you naturally assume Abby used her wiles to convert them to your cause. But, to your surprise, Abby didn't have to do much strong-arming at all. Turns out you already had more in common than you'd thought. Apparently the boy band was curious about what all the commotion in America was really about, and Abby was more than happy to cut through the media play and walk them through it. She befriended Namjoon, and after many... Namjoon. I honestly, I don't know the band that well, so, okay, Namjoon. That's what you're getting. And after many extensive dialectics about justice and the perils of capitalism, it seems the boys were inspired to start a revolution on their own terms. According to what you're hearing on the news, they've already managed to take over their entire entertainment studio, completely ousting the previous ownership. And in their new position of political leverage, they've galvanized the people of their own nation to stand up for positive social change. They seem to have an inordinately principled aversion to murder, which leaves you a bit pessimistic about the ultimate efficacy of their methods. But you'll let them play the game the way they want. For now. Indeed, it appears as if a global movement is fomenting in the wake of the Jubilite uprising. Just like in South Korea, parallel movements are cropping up across the world. Some of these insurrections are being waged explicitly in your name, while some are undoubtedly the unique product of the political conditions of those particular regions. But whatever banner they fly, the people of the world are rising in a tide. The people of the world are rising in a tide? It's a weird way to say that, but sure. Meanwhile, it's finally time for another formal debriefing. It's been a full month since your last one when you delegated control of events and practices to the rising star in the organization, Deactivating. But you haven't been to a briefing since, because you didn't want to make a habit out of those meetings. Too much ass-kissing, too much micromanagement of stuff you can't be bothered with. And you've been way too busy with high-stakes diplomacy anyway. You've just allowed her the slack to develop these projects on her own while you kept a close eye on her. And it looks like she made the most of that slack. The roster of Ring 3 appears to have dramatically expanded under Deactivating's administration. A whole lot of new clown faces here, but that's not too surprising. If there's one thing you've learned to never be surprised by, it's the unrelenting accrual of new clowns. More clowns than you could possibly ever know what to do with. Deactivating. Z, what a pleasure it is to see you make an appearance at our headquarters. It's been too long since I've had the honor of briefing you in person, and may I just say, the diplomatic work you've been doing has been remarkable. thanks, but you really should be referring to me as Supreme Hunkafax. Oh, yes, ha 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 ha. I am so sorry, a slip of the tongue. It will never happen again. Now, may I lead you inside so I can begin with the briefing. My Advanced Praxis Division has been making some incredible strides lately. No, let's stay outside. Could use the fresh air. Just follow me and say whatever you want to say. First, may I say, if it ever appears that I condescend to describe the tenets of Advanced Praxis to their author, it is only for the purpose of fully elaborating on them for a wider audience, such as this gallery of rogues here. Who knows how well read these chucklefucks are on Jubilite theory, am I right? I kid, of course. We're all friends here, and we like to joke around. That's what's so good about this movement, don't you think? We keep things light and humorous, while other ideologies just get so stuffy and self-important. Ha 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 ha, not us, though. Right, just wanted to make it clear that any, over-explaining I may do is simply for the sake of providing a well-rounded presentation to all, yes? That said, let's take it from the top. Advanced Praxis. The more elite ranks of the Jubilite movement have already been introduced to these teachings. It's still being kept from the masses at your discretion, of course, so as not to alert our targets to our methods too blatantly. But there will come a time when these ideas will permeate the global Jubilite movement to maximize their effect. Soon, I imagine. When it is clear enough to the world that there is no turning back, and I would hazard the recent work you have done securing the sovereignty of New Whimsifay puts us closer to that moment than ever. So, what is it we are doing? The core to these principles is quite simple. It relies on the premise that in order to destroy evil systems of overwhelming power, there is no tactic whatsoever that should be off the table. Everything the bastards are capable of doing to advance their goals, we are capable of doing too, and we must. So, if the rich and powerful use their staggering wealth to entrench themselves in their positions of supremacy, then if we are also able to accumulate similar amounts of wealth, which we have, thanks to your brilliance, this means it isn't merely a good idea to use those levers to attack their power, it means we are obligated to use them. It is, in fact, the only way to defeat them. To abide more honorable practices will be to cede advantages to them which are counterproductive to us and wholly undeserved to them. And so, empowered thusly by our supreme hunk of X, about a month ago I went to work with the various channels of the most resourceful Jubilites I could find, not to mention the ones with the least scruples about getting their hands dirty. Good people, really. A dutiful ensemble of particularly salty clowns who just want to make the biggest difference possible, like me. So, let's begin with an example of how one might use such levers. It's well known amongst upper echelons of the organization that Secretary Applepie herself targeted her own parents in a bold initial implementation of Praxis. But the success of that approach, while phenomenally instrumental in jump-starting this movement, fell far short of total success. They've managed to secure most of their assets. So, what other options exist? Well, one of the most direct tactics spelled out by the Supreme Honkafax is to apply assets toward legitimate acquisitions. A relatively small financial firm handles all their money, and once you have billions of dollars in the bank, the question becomes, can't you just outright buy certain companies, take control of them, and then begin to manipulate them to your advantage? Why not? Billionaires and corporations everywhere do this all the time, but buy out competition, or purchase smaller, inconvenient companies simply to strip or destroy them, or absorb smaller companies into bigger ones after retrofitting them to suit a new purpose. This can work. and we have had success with that approach in a few cases. The problem is that it's a bit slow and very much involves operating within the legal boundaries of a complex system in order to inflict damage on said system. There are much faster ways, and that's when things get more fun. As our Supreme Hunk of X rightly points out, why go to the expense and bother of purchasing a company when you can simply compromise many of the people who are already running it? It's so much faster that way, and it cuts through a lot of red tape. Many of the people working in these financial firms are a bunch of spineless nerds who, while used to handling the amount of money we're talking about, are not used to actually being paid that much. That makes them highly susceptible to bribery, while their spinelessness makes them susceptible to acts of intimidation and coercion. Let me get that off of there. And if you run into the same guys who are afraid of the law, that's where a good exit package can help. Just dangle a few million in front of the greedy coward, along with some plane tickets to somewhere in South America, some new identity papers, whatever it takes, and then you have someone who is suddenly very cooperative in helping you move a few billion in assets around. But sometimes even all that isn't quite enough to get results. Sometimes you have a couple of really tough customers who've been fleeced already, and they've already locked everything down, such as the secretary's parents, for instance. With hard targets like that, there are certain tactics of last resort which can help move things along, if you catch my meaning. Yep. Throat-slitting animation. That isn't your call to make. Oh yes, I know that. I wouldn't even dream of green-lighting such a play without your express approval first. Ha 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 ha. I'm just saying, it's always on the table. For any of these depraved capital-hoarding vultures, not just her parents. I was just using them as a convenient example. So, why don't you tell me what's actually been done instead of explaining all my shit back to me? Absolutely. I'll waste no more of your time, Supreme Hunk of X. We can all see you must attend to geopolitical concerns of higher magnitude than my modest little accounting report, so I shall cut straight to the chase. Jesus. First, I should mention I've been dividing acquisitions over the last month in two columns, hard assets and soft assets. Assets, of course, are anything of value. Cash, stocks, bonds, deeds to property, equity of any sort. Hard assets are now under direct control of the Jubilite organization, such as money in one of our bank accounts or property owned by one of our members and offer up to the organization. The total hard assets are now valued at well over 200 billion. Damn! Right, not bad for a month of advanced pranksis. Tireless round-the-clock pranksis by yours truly, mind you. But still a nice haul if I say so myself. But it gets better. Soft assets I have defined as those not technically in our possession. These are assets still controlled by outsiders who happen to be seriously compromised by us in some way. This means that in the event it becomes necessary, there's a high likelihood the assets could be transferred over to us. Naturally, it's harder to get a concrete tally of these resources, but my estimates have our global soft assets at around 1.5 trillion. That's a lot of fucking money. Well, yeah, it's just a large estimate, and it's, you know, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush sort of thing. It sure is. Turns out it's a lot easier to move this kind of money around than you'd think, since there's barely any real footprint to our movement. If we want to quietly transfer stock from a hedge fund into our portfolio, it's just assigned to one of our members rather than a formal Jubilite entity that's easily traced. We're also counting occupied property as hard assets. That is, any empty houses or buildings our forces have seized and which authorities have deemed too difficult to reclaim. For instance, we have well-armed Jubilites stationed in thousands of empty summer homes in Martha's Vineyard alone. That is billions of dollars worth of property, not even to speak of the land value of the entire island on which we stand. Such seizures have been taking place almost everywhere in the world. I must say it makes accounting estimates difficult. However, I believe you will find my rough figures to be quite reliable. Well, in a way, simply judging by the fact that they have taken over this island, I would have to say that the property values of the island have dropped significantly. But whatever. And all these people you compromised to account for the $1 trillion in soft assets, where are these people? Everywhere. I began by targeting the most obvious pressure points of the American economy, the big investment firms, banks and such. But the more I began delegating the generalized principles of advanced praxis throughout my networks, the more our people began to improvise and target many more entities. There are now thousands of Jubilite operatives working on this. They're squeezing marks in all the big companies, Amazon, Exxon, Facebook, a lot of people in Facebook actually, including Zuckerberg himself, which I don't mind stating with a certain amount of pride. Huh? Really? Trust me, Supreme Hunkifax. We've got this guy by the balls. Nice! Sounds like that should come in handy. Oh, believe me, it already has. It turns out compromising the human resource infrastructure of just about any major corporation yields a wider range of benefits than just increasing the financial fluidity of our movement. Pull the strings on a social media giant, control narratives more easily. On an energy giant, influence global geopolitics to your advantage. On an entertainment giant, well, you can change a lot of hearts and minds that way, can't you? Unless... What are you getting at here? I've been quite pleased to see Secretary Applepie herself taking up the cause of advanced praxis, totally unprompted and unstructured, also without including me in the loop, or coordinating with my networks in any way. Are you talking about Abby's K-pop shit? Yes, her excellent work with the Korean group, which is remarkably popular, somehow by utilizing the world-renowned status she has achieved through her visionary work. She has convinced the band members to engage in praxis and commandeer the entertainment company they are under contract with. Yeah, I know about this. This company made about $500 million in revenue last year, and yet, due to the way the secretary has gone about this, she has not compromised them in a way that will allow our organization to siphon any of that revenue away from the company. Okay, so it looks like she's kind of trying to get her claws around all of the money, and what's she gonna do with it then? I think she's going to sign her own death warrant is what I think she's going to do. That's why it is so important for those engaging in advanced praxis to stay connected with my network, to make sure we benefit from each operation. I understand that this was a pet project of hers because she admires these particular musicians. Yeah, it was. I thought she was just fucking around. I'm amazed she got them to actually do it. As am I. Nothing but respect for my secretary. I don't think she compromised them, though. I think they're just doing their own thing. Like, taking control of their own shit and vibing with some of the same anti-imperialist stuff we do. I think Abby's just having fun helping them out, is all. And there surely is no harm in having a bit of fun during all this. That's what praxis is all about, right? But, yep, you knew there was a but coming. But I'd also wonder what the exact utility of establishing such high-profile contacts with no intention of exploiting them. Abby would never let us do that. Precisely, which is why I can't help but feel... What? Well, considering her rank and the influence she holds, and the example she could be setting, I can't help but feel that, as much as I love everything she has contributed to our movement, that perhaps someone could be occupying her position who... possibly contributes a little more to the movement. Oh, it's on now. Tangibly, I mean, in terms of improving the bottom line, someone who helps bring a strong financial return on all these advanced praxis efforts. You know. It's about to throw down. It's about to happen. Lol, yeah, I mean, you aren't wrong. The type of person you described would objectively be a better fit for the number 2 spot. Can't even argue with that. Power, power, it's within my grasp. Everything you just said honestly sounds like fucking incredible. Really sensational work. In a month you got more money coming in than I thought we'd get in like years. I guess that's what makes this such a shame. What's a shame? Oh, here we go. Revolver Ocelot. Supreme Pranksus. Oh, Hussie. Candy Schmandus. One of the best anime deaths ever, I have to say. There we go. Okay, I should just stop the video right now. I'm not going to top that. Wonderful job. Traitors get bullets. Later. So, I guess you must have heard about what happened today. Abs? Abby? Bitch, I'm trying to have a conversation with a normal person. Incredibly, having to spend all day with a bunch of weird ass-kissing clowns makes me feel like I'm losing my mind. Yeah, sorry, I'm just in the middle of an important conversation. Is that your K-pop boy? Yes. How's it going? How's it been going with him? Very good. It still feels surreal being on speaking terms with one of my idols, though. Guess I can't relate. Guess I can relate. I mean, to him, not to you. To him, not to you, lol. Okay. Feels like somebody tells me something like that every day now. Haha, yeah. I guess cult of personality is a powerful thing. It sucks, actually, but yeah. So, you hatching more schemes over there with what's-his-face? The leader boy? Namjoon? I still know, I know I'm pronouncing that wrong. Yeah. Lol, I think at this point, you're just forgetting their names on purpose. Maybe you should cut it out. Didn't you used to hate it when people got your name wrong? Well, yeah, I did. Until I changed my name and it stopped mattering. Maybe they should pick cool new names for themselves like me. They did. When BTS was just starting out, Namjoon called himself Rap Monster. Oh, Jesus Christ. Well, never mind then. Lamau. So, you got him to hijack his shitty record label. What's next? More Pranksus? Yeah, we're talking about a few options. It's crazy the amount of influence they have over what could happen in their country. Probably even more than you have here. Well, yeah, clearly. I'm just an American anti-hero, cult figure or something, but enemy number 1 to the state. Those guys are so benign, way too much cuck energy to be threatening to anyone. But I'm glad to see you're helping them fuck things up. I'm not really trying to fuck anything up though. I'm just happy to see them taking full control of their destiny as artists. And I'm barely even doing anything for them. It's all they're doing, really. What about you? Haven't you made inroads with people you admired? I saw that Post Malone is a Jupilite now. It sure seems that way. Got some new clown tats and everything. Fucking wild. So why don't you reach out? I can't. I'd just embarrass myself and fangirl out if I talked to him. I'd blow my whole mystique. Besides, I don't think I can in good conscience drag Post deeper into this mess. It would probably destroy the poor guy's life. I'm not saying go mess with him or anything. I bet he would like to hear from you. I know this is all insane and very serious business all the time, but I still think you should try to get in the original spirit of it when you came. Backing up. But I still think you should try to get in the original spirit of it when you can. You know, try to have fun. Fun. Yeah, right. How can I think about fun? Do you know what I had to do today? Yes, you already tried to ask me. And I was just trying to keep my mind occupied so I didn't have to dwell on that stuff. I'm sure you had good reasons for dealing with Joculine that way. You're trying to keep us all alive here, and that probably means making tough decisions. But anything like that, like violence stuff, it really triggers me even thinking about it. So I have to figure out ways to keep myself sane. I know, I don't mean to push it in your face. I never even told you about her because I didn't want to upset you. Told me what? About a month ago, I figured it out. She was one of the girls who terrorized me after my breakdown a few years ago. And somehow she climbed the ladder as an undercover clown. Oh geez, that is really scary. I don't even think she had a problem with me after all this time. I doubt she even believed in anything. She never actually cared about my original problematic shit I got canceled for. She just enjoyed using it as an excuse to trash me. And then she saw a chance to get involved with something cool and make herself important, and took it. Wouldn't be surprised if her long game was gunning for my spot, not just yours. I just didn't tell anyone I knew so I could keep a close eye on her. At least it's over. Yeah, but I have to be more careful. What a fucking train wreck all this is. Anyone could be anyone. Really cool of me to build an organization which by definition lets your membership conceal who you really are. I just need a tighter ring, that's all. I got too sloppy. I'm sure you'll figure it out. We've really painted ourselves into a corner here. There's so much danger, and we can't really reverse course, so hope you don't mind if I sink myself into these distractions. Yeah, that's fine. We just vibing tonight. Here, want some? Lol, no thanks. I'm good with wine. You really must be tapping into the dregs by now. How much is that bottle? A couple $100, I think. Ugh, phew. Oh, that is the nasty shit. You might as well just go out to the barn and top your glass off with Dave Hasselhoff's dick. Pfft, lol, it's fine. Anyway, since when did you start blazing it? Since like 1 billion tons of weed started getting smuggled onto the island. Seems like a lot of land is getting adapted to weed farming now. That's cool, I guess. New Whimsifade does need an economy after all. Seems like a good export model. Did you order people to do that? Haha, nope. So they're gonna grow weed instead of food, you know. That's gonna be a great idea. A lot of shit just sorta happens now. I barely have to do anything operational, except preside over the occasional clown execution. Yeah, let's hope that duty stays very occasional. I don't know, my hater list is pretty long by now. Oh please, tell me you're joking. What, about doing more clown executions? Yeah, I was joking. But about the list, it's an actual thing. I thought you knew about it. Yeah, I do. I was hoping you'd just stop keeping up with it at some point. Are you still actually maintaining it? Well, damn it, Z. There are just so many fucking people out there people out to get us. Really bad people. It's not even just old shitty haters like Joculon anymore. I'm tracking nasty government and media people too. A bunch of corporate types. Awful guys, you know? Yeah, I get it. They're all terrible. I just think this hit list stuff is really unhealthy for you. Like, psychologically. Makes you really paranoid, and I'm worried about that. What? I just don't want to see you spiral into that dark place that got you started on this all over again. I'll be fine. I know I complain about shit, but I feel much better than I ever did. Everything has a purpose now. I don't need to struggle with my direction in life or what I'm trying to accomplish. That's great and all, and I know you're smarter than me, so sometimes I feel crazy pointing out stuff that sounds like really basic, but all these lists of people you keep, isn't that the kind of thing dictators do? Like, keep a track of all the people they don't like who are expendable? That's pretty melodramatic. That's a pretty melodramatic take. I'm not planning a mass purge of haters and antis if that's what you're asking. If only because most of these fucking maggots aren't even worth the energy. Alright, if you say so, but I hope you don't mind if I keep just pulling back from all this in any way I can. I'm always here for you, of course, but I've been considering just deactivating my social media account soon. Are you sure about that? No, it's just something I'm thinking about. To get a little more distance from everything and keep myself sane. People will see it as a formal resignation of your position in the chain of command, though. Someone else would need to fill the void, and you're the only person I trust. I know that. I'm really wrestling with it. I want to keep supporting you. I just haven't decided what to do yet. Alright then. I'm gonna go piss while you think about it. Give K-pop Monster my regards. While Abby talks to her new friend who once named himself after a monster, you stare in the mirror at her old friend who may be in this process of turning herself into one. So much crazy stuff is happening constantly, it can be easy to start feeling numb to it, but maybe it's a good idea to reflect on certain surreal truths and now and then. Like how maybe it feels pretty messed up when your chill wine buddy has to sincerely offer cautionary remarks about turning into Joseph Stalin. That's ridiculous, of course. Yes, many revolutionaries, after tasting success, would hear the siren song of mass murder, but you know it in your heart, you are different. You've never been more sure that you're doing this for all the right reasons, and anyone who tried to convince you otherwise will probably regret it. Dun dun dun! Whoop. Glare. An urgent news article is blowing up on your phone. Nothing ever blows up on your phone unless it's highly relevant to your movement. The fans and key members of your organization are always the first to push the story hard, and it always makes you nervous when it happens. Big stories rarely feel like they contain good news for you. And this one is certainly no exception. Oh no, what is going on? The report says Abby's parents' mansion has just exploded. Both are presumed dead, but there is no official confirmation of their deaths. But you don't need confirmation. You know they're dead. Your people did this. There is no other explanation. They wouldn't have done it if they weren't sure the targets were inside at this time. You feel sick. This was Joculine. It had to be her. The bitch greenlighted those orders behind your back before she died. When she floated the idea to you, it wasn't a hypothetical. The orders were already out. Fuck. You are afraid to go back and talk to Abby. You have no idea how you can break this to her. In fact, you probably don't even need to. She must have seen it on her own phone already. What do you say? How can you explain this? You tiptoe out of the bathroom. You take impossibly tiny footsteps back to the living room. Maybe if you walk slowly enough, you'll simply never arrive. Hey, I'm sorry. I'll be okay. A part of me always sensed this day might come. It wasn't supposed to, though. It was Joculine. She mentioned something about it, but I had no idea she already put this in motion without telling me. And I guess I killed her before she had a chance to reverse the order. It's my fault. No, it's mine. I went along with it at the beginning and just kept going. I could have stopped it any time, but I enjoyed it as much as you did. I finally felt like I was reclaiming part of my soul by ripping them off. The part of me that benefited from all their money and the expense of others. I thought if we could use their money to make a difference, it would make me feel better. But it went too far. All of this did. I mean, they weren't good people, though. I know they weren't. It wasn't their fault, though. They just made too much money and spent too much time with the wrong people. Listened to too much bullshit. And they were finally... I didn't want that. And they were family. I didn't want this. Personally speaking, I know this feels really heavy right now, but you get used to being free of your bad parents. I'm sure it'll feel liberating if you let some time go by. Z, I don't think that's a nice thing to say right now, but I'm too sad to be mad about it. I have to deactivate my accounts. I'm sure you'll be able to find someone who isn't a backstabber to help you. I'll still follow you all the way because I love you, but there are certain things I can't do anymore. Ooh, the psychic damage creeps higher and higher. The feeling of heartbreak leaves a void. Rage fills it quickly, as usual. At first, it's anger at yourself. You knew Joculine was a traitor, but you strung her along for an entire month, letting her play her games while you were biding your time, waiting for the right moment to put her down. If only you hadn't been so lenient. You could have pulled the trigger weeks earlier, before she had the chance to get carried away, or you could have just shot her the day you found out about her treachery. But why should you be angry at yourself? She was the one who killed Abby's parents, and she was the one who canceled you. Beating yourself up for your leniency is just playing into the hands of people like this. It's letting them win. No, she's the one who deserves all your rage. Everyone like her deserves your rage, and maybe even more than just that. Maybe they all deserve what Joculine had coming as well. But you can't start thinking of it that way. You remember what Abby was telling you about your hater list, about what that could lead to. You've already hurt her so much. You can't let yourself put her through more grief than she's already endured. You don't know how you'd be able to live with yourself if you destroyed her. You're exhausted. You tell yourself the same thing you've been telling yourself most nights when trying to get to sleep. All these problems will probably seem less insane and more unsolvable in the morning. You're never right, obviously, but you tell yourself anyway, like a comforting lullaby. She gonna get pooed on by a horse? Oh no! It's happening. Sword Man. Riotous. Yes? Don't go. We need to talk. Where would I go? As long as you feel driven to survive, I will always be with you. I mean, don't fuck off suddenly. I need more answers. No, I need help. I'm only unavailable at the moment you wake up. Your time with me is only fleeting if you waste it. I need to know if you're real, or am I just losing it? If I were a figment of your imagination, couldn't I just answer yes? Am I real? I am real? Your subconscious could insist on my reality through this lie, to continue tricking you. And if I were real, couldn't I simply lie about that as well, to plant seeds of doubt in your mind, in your head, about the origin of the ideas you are sharing with the world? This just sounds like a fancy bullshit way of saying, maybe I can't trust anything you say. But perhaps you can't. Didn't you already know that? Why are you asking me to confirm something to you, when you know the mere act of confirmation could be part of the deception? Wouldn't it be better to assume I'm real, and ask me these important questions you have? Then, after I answer, you're free to wake up and decide what value those answers have when making your next decisions. Ugh, okay. Last time, you were popping off about your, insane psychic imperialism. I was? Yeah. That's what you were hinting at. Then what's your question? I don't even know yet. I guess I'm just trying to confirm that's what's going on here, based on the presumption you're real. As I just explained, I can't even confirm I am real, let alone confirm that you just asked. Confirm what you just asked. But I can continue doing as I've done, which is to speak of certain possibilities. Like what? Such as the possibility that I was not even the first Jubilite, as your manifesto describes. Huh? Are you saying you aren't? I'm saying you should consider the possibility that I'm not. Consider that I was once a member of a race of people on a far-off planet which was not called the Whimsife, and who had never heard of the Jubilites, or even had any particular affinity for clowns. Man, what the fuck? Also, consider that I was visited in my dreams by a being that was self-described as the first Jubilite from a planet called Whimsife, and she told me everything I have told you. Eventually, she began telling me to consider everything even deeper truths about her reality. She began asking me to consider that she was not the first either, and then came the promises. Promises? She promised glory, infamy, and immortality. She promised a transcendence of the physical form, of attachment to my original planet and culture. She promised even that I would rise above everything I accomplished with the conquest of my own world. She told me there was so much more to discover, if only I persevered and achieved absolute victory. Are you telling me that's what's in store for me if I, win? I'm not telling you anything. I'm asking you to consider it, just as she was. Okay. I think I get the game you're playing, and the, weird verbal rules it has for some fucking reason. Whatever. I can play along. You already have been. And as I said before, you've been doing very well. So, when she told me that stuff, when she told you that stuff, hypothetically, what did you do? I continued doing what I was already doing, because regardless of where the ideas originated, I believed what I was doing for my world was right, but I continued with additional vigor. Because it was then that I began to believe I was becoming a crucial part of something which had great cosmic significance. It seemed to me that I was assuming a place in a lineage of unfathomably consequential figures which spans millions of years and billions of stars. I guess that's a sort of motivation, sure. It doesn't sound like the type of idea which motivates you, though. I don't know. It's a fucking lot. That's a perfectly reasonable stance, and it is why my predecessor felt it was important to leave the truth of herself as speculative, and why I am doing so with you as well. because there is no motivation which can truly substitute the feeling of conviction that what you are doing right. Yeah. Okay, that's a weird phrasing on some of that. And that sense must come from within you, not from fairy tales of space and infamy. Well, I do think what I am doing is right, but it's also really hard, and it's fucking up my friendship and making me fucking sad all the time. I didn't say it was easy. In fact, I'm telling you the opposite. Just as my predecessor told me, and it sounds like she lit a fire under your ass all the same. When she told you all this stuff, didn't you say you did it with extra vigor? Yes. What does that even mean? It means I was brutal. Is this not what you wanted to hear? It sounds fucked up, and it sounds like what I'm already worried about, and what Abby's really worried about. I don't think I can hurt her anymore. I remember what it was like to have mortal concerns like these. I feel nothing but sympathy for what you're experiencing, but these are very small matters compared to the grand scale we are discussing. You must understand. It sounds like you're trying to convince me of being more hardcore about this, but trust me, dude, I'm already there. You really aren't. Man, I've made fucking lists, and I just shot a girl today, and she killed Abby's parents, and I am not lecturing you. I am actually paying you a compliment. You have come so much farther than I did in a much shorter period of time. How long did it take you? It took me many years to crush all forces of opposition on my planet. The lives lost were countless. You have spent only months pursuing your mission, and yet incredibly, you are on the precipice of total victory. I am? The fact that success is so nearly within your grasp may not be obvious to you, but it is very clear to me. So, if what I'm hearing is right, you have been coming into my dreams basically to finally tell me how much better at this I am than you. That is not inaccurate. But it is also foolish to be overconfident, and even more foolish to assume the level of brutality you've already inflicted will be remotely sufficient for completing your mission. Withdrawing now from your instincts for survival and the violence that flows from it naturally would be a great mistake. I don't know if Abby thinks I should just delete these lists. She's not the supreme hunk of X. You are. I know. There are many who opposed me too. Their methods and motivations are always the same. Ridicule, jealousy, conniving, greed, lust for your power. They will all try to kill you eventually, I promise. So I should, you remember why you wrote your list originally, don't you? Yeah. Don't you remember what they did to deserve it? There is nothing else for me to say, because you already know this as well as I. The moment you wrote down their names, they were already dead. Dun dun dun! Bloody nose time. You wake up, and it's still nighttime. How long were you out? It couldn't have been more than a few hours. The dream was the most intense you've ever had. So intense, you're bleeding somehow. Does she have brain problems or something? And you've been gripping your phone so tight your hand hurts. What the? It appears your entire hater list has been copied into a text message addressed to Ring 3. Did you do this in your sleep? Dun dun dun. They've responded with understandable confusion. They're wondering what the purpose of this list is and what you want them to do. But you know, there's only one possible reason you would have dropped this list here, unconsciously or otherwise. Understanding the correct moral choice is rarely that hard. You usually have more than enough information available to decide. A good friend who loves you, a girl who's done everything in her power to keep you from going astray, and offered as collateral what was her heart, which would shatter if you fell too far. But there are other factors to consider. Factors which all good sense and the hearts of our loved ones have rarely been able to compete with. There is the factor of inevitability. Your vision was inevitable. The sledgehammer it's taken to the capitalist order of this planet was inevitable. And what is perhaps also inevitable is your wrath. As Riotous rightly pointed out, these people brought this upon themselves. The moment they spoke your name with a sense of spite, they should have known they were speaking to a suicidal curse in inviting this inevitability into their lives someday. Inevitability is defined by the forces which try to stop it. Its strength is measured by everything that gets in its way only to be crushed. The power of a nation, the heart of a friend, and even the conscience of the host, or that is to say, the vessel meant to deliver the unstoppable. Your conscience can make you bleed through the nose and turn your knuckles white to put up a fight against the inevitable. But just like every single one of these miserable fucking rants had never even stood a chance. Sendor. Bam! To be continued. Okay, 2 chapters left. We'll have to see how this wraps up and see what the whole true successor thing ends up being. I wonder if they're actually going to unlock some of the questions earlier on, and you can go back and replay the game and see what happens if you choose differently or something. That could be kind of neat. But anyway, so there we are. I think the next one is in 2 weeks actually. So till then, next time. Well, till next time, later. Jeez, can't even get my own catchphrases right. Anyway, later.